Okay, so we thought we would just add a little bit of a supplement just to show you what the pump looks like in our particular hospital. It may be hospital specific, but just to give you a little bit of idea of what I was talking about when I was talking about setting up the program that you want. So basically in our circumstance, the pump is set up to provide a specific kind of medication generally, but you always are checking. It usually asks if you want to start a new patient every time you turn it on, so you would just say yes. And then you would click on the particular program that you want. So in our case, it's usually childbirth epidural with PIB. I don't know what PIB means, but that's the one we use. So then you would select that. Then you would choose what sort of epidural medication you want. In our case, it's bupivacaine with 0.625%. So you would select that. And then the fentanyl is the addition that's in there. You would select that. And then there's a code, so we'll do that so that people don't have access to the pump. And then once you've put in your code, it's going to ask if it's correct, the type of program you want, the drugs that are in the program that you want, and you would say yes. And then it just kind of programs itself, and then you review the settings. So when you're reviewing the settings, it asks the intermittent bolus that you would have, and I guess, I don't know,
10.
it's the routine is usually 10. So in our case, you would hit select to choose, and then you would go all the way up to 10. You just kind of hit the up button. And when you get to 10, and you want to make sure in every case that you ask anesthesia, even if it's a standard program, I always ask specifically because they might tailor it for particular needs, or they might have different numbers that they want to use. So always make sure you actually write the numbers down or check. So you would save that number, and then it asks next the bolus interval. How often do you want the client to get the dosage of medication? In this case, it's every 40 minutes. And then the next time, so you would hit save, and then when is the next bolus due? So if there's been a loading dose, it's 40 minutes from that. So if you're doing this setup 10 minutes after the loading dose was given, the next dose would actually be in 30 minutes. So you would actually change that number to 40 minutes. So we go to 30 minutes in that case. And then the next value that it's asking is the dose that the client can give themselves if they need a little bit of extra medication. And I think the dose is usually 5, yes. Okay, so 5, so then you would go up to 5 on your pump, and then you would click save. And then once you hit save, it's gonna ask you to review the program, and it's going to ask you to accept each one. So you're basically checking things twice. So you accept the dose, the value that you've written. The lockout just means that the client can't have a self dosage or extra boost more than every 10 minutes. So you'll want to accept that. The 1 hour limit is usually, I think, is it 30?
30.
Usually 30 mils, so you would change that to 30. So, you just go by whatever the protocols are in your particular hospital. We're just giving you an example of how it works here. And then you hit save. And then once you put all your values in, you're just going to accept all of the values. The reservoir volume is usually 100 mils, so yes, I'll accept. And then it's going to put check marks next to each one. And then the next step is to have someone else double check usually. And usually if you do it quickly, the anesthesia is in the room, they can just double check, or another midwife or a nurse. You hit okay, and then priming the tubing is the next step, which we won't do here. But if you need to prime the tubing and bring the fluid down to the end of your line, then you would click yes or no, and then when you're done, it'll say, are you done? And you'll say yes, and then you start. Okay, so that's how the pump works at our hospital.